Hey guys, welcome back to the Daily Raid YouTube channel. We're back again with this series I started a while back called Indians Create the All-Time or Ultimate 11s for various different football clubs. So far, we've done two teams. Basically, the first one was Real Madrid and the second one was my favorite club, Manchester United. And today we're here doing a club that I'm not a huge fan of, and actually as a United fan I meant to despise, and that is Liverpool Football Club. Liverpool Football Club, despite the fact that I hate them, are one of the best teams in football today and one of the greatest teams of all time. And in order to get through this video, I needed a super fan as such, or a super fan of sorts. And for that, I have a friend of mine, Abhishek, here with me. Abhishek is a huge football fan, a huge sports fan, and a huge Liverpool fan as well. Abhishek, anything you want to tell us about yourself?
So, hello everyone. Thanks Nathan for having me. So, myself Abhishek, as Nathan told you, I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm currently doing my PhD. I'm in Delhi and I'm working on sports only. I'm working on football. So, yeah, that's me.
So, yeah, Abhishek is a sports fan, like I mentioned earlier. He's working with football and sports right now. He's doing his PhD related to sports and football. He's actually written a couple of articles in a book, or a couple of chapters in a book about the City Football Group. But Man City is not the team we're talking about today. It is Liverpool, like I mentioned earlier. And yeah, so we will be taking turns to, pick our ultimate 11s, much like the previous video. And we have selected these 11s beforehand, so you guys will see position by position which ones we have selected. As always, since I'm the host, Abhishek got to kick us off, and he started off with the right winger. So Abhishek, who did you end up selecting at right wing in this Liverpool all-time 11?
Who else but the Egyptian king? Mo Salah takes my right wing spot, the third highest goal scorer in our club's history, and slowly climbing the Premier League charts also. So it's Mo Salah for me.
So Mo Salah was the first pick for Abhishek in this draft. Obviously I had to go with right wing as well, and that was a bit of a difficulty for me because Mo Salah is the greatest right wing in Liverpool history. But I decided to go a bit outside the box with a player that I've not really watched play, and I chose Steve McManaman, a guy who's capable of playing both in the midfield and in the winger position. Played for Real Madrid as well. As Abhishek pointed out to me a while back, he has won 2 Champions Leagues as well, and is the first English player to win a Champions League with a non-English team. So a great player basically. And yeah, he was my selection for right wing. I had the next selection and I went with central midfield. I decided if Abhishek is taking Mo Salah, I have got to take the greatest player in Liverpool history by far, Steven Gerrard. For context, I am playing a 4-3-3 formation, and Steven Gerrard is right there in that advanced midfielder role for me. On the other hand, Abhishek is playing a 4-2-3-1, and while he does have Mo Salah on the right wing, he had to select a midfielder now. And Abhishek, who did you go for?
So yeah, as Nathan said, I'm playing a 4-2-3-1. So actually him taking Gerrard away from me pushed me to a 4-2-3-1. So I went with a double pivot. So my first midfielder is a defensive minded midfielder, is former club captain Graham Souness, a proper hard tackling midfielder of his time, won the European Cup as a captain in 1984 with the club. So yeah, I go with Graham Souness.
So Graham Souness was Abhishek's selection at that defensive midfield position. Me myself, not a big fan of Souness because he's always blasting United every time he's on the air. But yeah, Abhishek had the next pick and he went with a centre back. And I'm sure, as you all can guess, the centre back is perhaps the greatest centre back in Liverpool history, and one of the greatest centre backs of the modern era. So Abhishek, why don't you let us know who he is exactly?
The man mountain, the defensive linchpin of our club, VVD, Virgil van Dijk, our captain, and the guy who sets examples every match day. So I go with him.
So Virgil van Dijk was Abhishek's selection in his first centre-back slot. Obviously, I had to select a centre-back as well. The player I actually chose is a guy who operated in the 80s and 90s, considered to be maybe the greatest centre-back in Liverpool history after Virgil van Dijk, and that is the Scotsman Alan Hansen. Hansen was a stalwart in defense for Liverpool, and I'm hoping he's going to be a stalwart for me in this Liverpool all-time 11 that I'm creating. Next up was my selection, and I decided to go with midfield again, and I decided to give a pairing to Steven Gerrard. While he is on one side, this player is on the other side, and he was actually selected in the first video we made in this series, which is the Real Madrid 11, and he was selected by my opponent at the time, Nabil. But this time I get my hands on him, and that is Xabi Alonso. What a player, great footballing IQ, great with the ball at his feet, great at picking up a great pass. Xabi Alonso right alongside Stevie G for me. That means Abhishek had to select another midfield position. So Abhishek, who do you go with?
So I complete my double pivot with placing a former captain of our club, Jordan Henderson. So again, close to 500 appearances for the club, lifted all the trophies which were there to lift, and then departed on a high. Basically, he stayed at the club for 11 years, and again, as a captain, setting examples on and off the pitch. It's Jordan Henderson for me.
So Jordan Henderson completes the double pivot there for Abhishek. He had the next selection, and I believe that he went with another midfield spot, a little higher up the pitch, attacking midfield. Who do you go with, Abhishek?
Arguably one of the greatest now, because he used to be the greatest. Then Gerrard entered the debate. Now we are more in the debate. So it's Sir Kenny Dalglish. King Kenny is there, who was again scored loads of goals. Used to play as a second striker for us. So again, will work perfectly well in my 4-2-3-1 formation. Just behind my center striker. He was one of our greatest managers. Also was there through Hillsborough. Also lifted a Premier League title with Blackburn as a manager also. So King Kenny for me.
So Kenny Dalglish in the central attacking midfield spot for Abhishek, which means I had to finish my midfield trio, and I was going with a defensive midfielder. Unfortunately, since I'm not a Liverpool fan, I really don't know that much about Liverpool history and Liverpool all-time greats, but I went with a guy that I have seen perform at the highest level for Liverpool. A huge part of their dominance a while back, and really the transition from great defensive midfielders in the Premier League. It went from Kante to this guy to then Rodri. I'm obviously talking about the Brazilian Fabinho. Classy player, great player, a tank in the midfield, and just a superb player for Liverpool over the last decade. So yeah, Fabinho for me in defensive midfield. I obviously had the next selection, and I'm going to be completing the winger slots for myself. On the right, I've got Steve McManaman. On the left, I picked arguably the second greatest African player in Liverpool history, and that is none other than Sadio Mane, the Senegalese winger. Great player, known for his pace and dribbling, and a guy who can score a goal for you whenever and wherever you want. Sadio Mane for me at left wing. Abhishek, you had to select your left winger next. Who did you go with?
I went with a Liverpool legend, John Barnes, who ran up and down the wing and also played as a centre midfielder later in his career, won multiple league titles with our club, and was sort of a link between the 80s and 90s because he played for the club, I think, till 96, if I'm correct. So yeah, John Barnes for me on the left wing.
So John Barnes on the left wing for Abhishek. He obviously had the next selection, and he decided to go with his second centre back. Why don't you let us know who you selected?
Yeah, so because Nitin snatched away Alan Hansen from me, so I went with Phil Thompson, a boyhood Liverpool fan. Again, in the late 70s, 80s he played, and once multiple league titles, basically 7 league titles he won, 3 European Cups he won for the club. Again, a colossal defender and someone you could trust with when he was on the pitch for you. And his trophy haul speaks for himself. Phil Thompson as my second centre back.
So Phil Thompson was Abhishek's second centre back. I obviously had my fair share of players to choose from. Obviously, we cannot forget the great Liverpool legend Jamie Carragher, who was a stalwart in defence, much like Alan Hansen, whom I have on my team as well. But as Abhishek pointed out to me, he also started his career playing in the left back slot, which is why I decided to go for a guy who was a pure centre back, and that is none other than the Finnish legend Sami Hypia. A great player, was part of that 2005 squad that ended up winning the Champions League in Istanbul or Turkey, in Turkey, that fateful day against Milan. He joins 2 other players he's worked with, basically Gerrard and Xabi. So yeah, Sami Hyypiä completes my two-man centre-back team. I obviously had the next pick, and I decided to cut to the chase and choose my striker. As I had mentioned earlier, I really don't know that many Liverpool legends, which is why I went with a striker that I know very well and I've seen play for most of my career or my life as a football fan. He's mostly well known for working with the MSN trio in Barcelona, but I'm of course talking about Luis Suarez. He was there for maybe 2-3 seasons, but what a talent, what a player. Luis Suarez was absolute class in that striker spot for Liverpool. A perfect replacement for the likes of Fernando Torres, who Liverpool actually struggled to replace for a while. But yeah, Luis Suarez, the Uruguayan legend, is my striker up top, leading the line for me. Abhishek, you had to select your striker next. Who did you go for?
So yeah, again, when it comes to Liverpool and strikers, you're spoiled for choices. You have Suarez, even more recently Firmino also, in his own way, brilliant striker. Then we had Owen, Fowler, Torres, and then we go with. Then who I went with basically was our record goal scorer, Ian Rush, the Welsh wizard basically. 346 goals in 660 appearances for the club, a guarantee for the goals. Suarez again, as you mentioned, was actually the first thought in my mind was Suarez, but then I thought, okay, maybe longevity should be given the credit here, so I went with Ian Rush.
Ian Rush, I mean, he's a guy that if I had remembered he was on this Liverpool team, I would have definitely selected. A great pick by Abhishek there. He obviously had the next selection and he decided to go with the right back slot. So Abhishek, who's filling in at right back for you on this Liverpool all-time 11?
Many people would think I have the first choice. I'd go with, again, the modern maestro, Trent, but I decided to give it a pass. I went with actually the original or the earlier exponent of the attacking fullback role. I went with the most decorated player in our history. It's Phil Neal. Again, a brilliant right back, contributed attacking wise also, contributed defensive wise also. Won I think 22 honours for our club. All those European Cups in the 70s and 80s, 8 league titles if I'm correct. So yeah, it's Phil Neal.
So Abhishek ended up selecting Phil Neal. Like he said, there are a lot of legendary players to choose from, but I'm not well aware of them. And I ended up actually selecting the name he mentioned a bit earlier, which is the modern right back for Liverpool, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Such a versatile player, can play in the right back slot, in midfield. Known more for his attacking capabilities than his defensive abilities, but his defensive ability shouldn't be looked over. Great crosser of the ball, great passer of the ball, can really get you that assist from anywhere outside the box. So yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold was my selection at right back. I obviously had the next selection, and that was the left back slot, which I ended up picking in. And I decided to go with Trent Alexander-Arnold's partner in crime, Andy Robertson. What a guy. A hilarious individual outside of the football pitch and an incredible player on it. Andrew Robertson, just as attacking minded as Trent Alexander-Arnold, and a key figure for Liverpool in that Premier League and Champions League winning seasons they've had recently. So yeah, Andrew Robertson, the Scotsman, is my left back. Abhishek, you're the guy who knows all the legends here, and I know you picked one of the legendary figures in Liverpool history. Who did you go with?
So yeah, while again I was researching for this video, and I also mentioned it to Nitin earlier. So again, when I went for this guy, basically I read a lot that he's an unheralded left back for Liverpool. Not many people talk about him because he put in a shift, he went back. So these kind of things. So I went with Alan Kennedy. One of the main reasons was that, okay, he was a very vital part of our European Cup winning team. Scored the only goal in the 1981 European Cup final against Real Madrid. The last time the great Real Madrid lost a European Cup final. So that was way back in 1981. He also scored a penalty in the 1984 European Cup final against AS Roma. So yeah, I went with Alan Kennedy.
So Alan Kennedy was the left back for Abhishek. From what he has told me, an incredible player, one of the last players to actually beat Real Madrid in a Champions League final. That leaves us with one position, and that was the goalkeeper slot. Obviously, Abhishek had the final pick here. I mean, the first of the final pick here. And who do you go with, Abhishek?
So I went with basically one of the greatest goalkeepers in Liverpool's history. And especially considering the time he has played around 6.5 years for us, but still he can be considered maybe one of the greatest, if not the greatest goalkeepers in our history. And in terms of Premier League also, I went with Alisson Becker. the saves. Again, he's also scored a goal, so why not him?
Alisson Becker, I really think you can't go wrong with the goalkeeper selection being Alisson here. Classy player, great player in between the sticks. A guy who's caused a lot of depression for United fans all over the world with some incredible saves over the years. So Alisson was the selection for Abhishek. Moving back to me, like I've mentioned plenty of times in this video, I really don't know my Liverpool players that well. But there was one name that really stood out to me when I was just looking up Liverpool keepers, and that was the Zimbabwean keeper that they had all the way back in the 90s, Bruce Grobbelaar. Played about 300 to 400 matches for Liverpool, was a huge part of their winning teams before the Premier League era. Bruce Grobbelaar, many people may not know much about him, but he was a talented keeper. And while I'm sure the hardcore Liverpool fans would probably have some other suggestions for me in goal, Bruce Grobbelaar was my selection. And that brings us to the end of the selection period. Just to go over our respective teams, starting off with me, I have Bruce Grobbelaar in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson as my fullbacks. My centre-back pairing is Alan Hansen and Sami Hyypiä. I've gone for a three-man midfield with Fabinho in defensive midfield and Gerrard and Xabi Alonso playing a little higher up. On the right wing, I've got Steve McManaman. On the left wing, I've got Sadio Mane. And up top, leading the line is none other than Luis Suarez. A great team, but Abhishek, let us know about your team now.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I played a 4-2-3-1. Alisson is my goalkeeper. My back four consists of Phil Neal as my right back, Van Dijk and Phil Thompson as my centre backs, Alan Kennedy as the left back. In the midfield two, the double pivot, I have Graeme Souness as the defensive midfielder. The other midfielder is Jordan Henderson. And then it's Kenny Dalglish as the number 10 second striker, whatever we may call him. Then on the left wing we have John Barnes. Right wing again the Egyptian king Mo Salah. And my attack is capped off by my striker Ian Rush.
So yeah guys, those are the two teams we ended up selecting. Obviously there is a debate to be had for certain positions. Abhishek would probably take Mo Salah in that right wing slot over Steve McManaman, but I'd say I have a good argument for Steven Gerrard taking up one of the midfield slots against one of his midfield players. But due to lack of time, we can't really go through that major debate, which is why you guys come in here and play a very important role. Let us know in the comment section down below which team you think is better. Is it my team featuring the likes of Gerrard and Sadio Mane and Alan Hansen, or is it Abhishek's team with the likes of Mo Salah, Kenny Dalglish and Virgil van Dijk, among others? I'd like to thank Abhishek for coming on here. It was a great pleasure working with you on this video. Hopefully we can make some more videos in the future. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. But don't forget to like, subscribe and share this with your friends. See ya.